She wanted just one night, but his gentle hands made her forget the world outside. Hello, everyone. Before we begin today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to the story. The next day, Emma walked into the small cafe, feeling the slight twinge of nervousness again. She hadn't heard from Liam since their awkward meeting the night before. But as she entered, she spotted him sitting at a corner table. He was dressed casually today, wearing a gray sweater and jeans, a far cry from his sharp suit from last night. It made him seem more human. She smiled to herself, thinking how strange it was that she had already started to look forward to seeing him again. She waved tentatively, her nerves still prickling as she approached. "Hi," she said, trying to sound more casual than she felt. "I hope I didn't keep you waiting." Liam looked up from his phone, his eyes lighting up when he saw her. "Not at all," he replied with a soft smile, standing up to pull out the chair for her. "Glad you could make it. I was starting to think you might change your mind." Emma shrugged off her jacket and settled into the chair. "I wasn't sure what to expect, to be honest," she said, her hands playing with the edges of her napkin. "But after last night, I guess I'm curious." Liam raised an eyebrow. "Curious about what?" She met his gaze, feeling a little vulnerable. "About you. You seemed different. You're not what I thought you'd be." Liam chuckled, his voice warm. "What did you think I was?" "I don't know," she admitted, her cheeks flushing a little. "I guess I thought you were just another guy. You know, one of those corporate types who's all about business. I didn't expect you to be so normal." Liam leaned back in his chair, looking thoughtful. "Normal? Well, I guess that's one way to put it," he said with a smile. "I'm not really into the whole corporate persona. I mean, sure, I have my job, but it's not the only thing that defines me." Emma found herself intrigued, though she couldn't help but still feel the sting of last night's revelation. He was a millionaire. No, more than that. He was a CEO, with wealth and power beyond anything she could imagine. The idea that he was just normal felt like a joke to her. "I'm sorry if I'm being awkward," she said, looking down at her coffee cup. "It's just, last night, you didn't tell me who you really were. I wasn't expecting that." Liam's expression softened. "I understand. I didn't mean to mislead you. I just wanted to have a conversation with someone who wasn't interested in me for my money or my status. That's harder than you might think." Emma nodded slowly. "I get that. It's just, I'm not used to people being honest like that. I mean, most people would have corrected me right away. But you just let me talk." He gave a small smile. "I thought you were interesting. And besides, I don't mind being mistaken for someone else. It's kind of refreshing, actually." The conversation shifted, and Emma found herself laughing at his jokes, something she hadn't done in a long time. She wasn't thinking about the money, the lifestyle, or any of the things that usually weighed on her. For the first time in a while, she felt comfortable. "So, what about you?" Liam asked, his tone curious. "What do you really want? You said last night that you wanted to open an art studio. Tell me more about that." Emma blinked, taken aback by the question. It wasn't often that someone asked about her dreams like that, especially not someone like Liam. She hesitated, but then her passion started to spill out. "I've always loved art," she said, her voice softening. "But it's hard, you know. I've been working as a waitress, saving up every penny, just to keep up with rent. It's tough. I want to create a space where young artists can grow, where they don't have to worry about the money part. I want to give people the chance to follow their dreams, like I never could." Liam listened intently, his gaze focused on her, as if he were seeing a side of her that no one else had. "That's incredible," he said. "I think you could make it happen." Emma shook her head. It's not that simple. I don't have the resources or the connections. It's just a dream, one I'm not sure I can make come true. Liam leaned forward, his voice serious now. You'd be surprised. Sometimes, all it takes is a little push. I can help. Emma looked at him, unsure if he was serious. Help? How? How? I have some experience with launching projects, he said, his tone even. If you're willing to take the leap, I can help you get started. I can connect you with people who could help fund your studio, guide you in the right direction. Emma stared at him, stunned. She didn't know what to say. I don't know. I mean, you don't even know me. Why would you want to help me? Liam smiled softly. Because I believe in people who are willing to fight for what they want. And you've got something that most people don't real passion. She wasn't sure what to make of it. The offer felt like too much, too soon. But there was something about him, something she couldn't explain. You'd do that? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He nodded. Yes, I would. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of his words hanging between them. Emma wasn't sure what to think, but something inside her stirred. Maybe, just maybe, this was the chance she needed. Maybe she wasn't as alone in this as she thought. But, as the morning sunlight filtered through the cafe windows, she couldn't shake the nagging feeling that things were about to change in ways she hadn't imagined. Would she take the leap? Or would fear hold her back? The decision was hers to make, and deep down, she knew that whatever she chose, it would shape her future in ways she couldn't yet understand. Emma sat there, her mind racing. Liam's offer to help her with her dream felt like a lifeline thrown into a sea of doubt. But something about it also felt too good to be true. He was a successful CEO, with a life she could only dream of. And yet he was offering to help her someone with nothing but an idea and a sketchbook full of designs. She looked at him, trying to read his face for any signs of insincerity. But all she saw was earnestness, a sincerity that was hard to ignore. For a moment, they both sat in silence, letting the weight of the conversation settle between them. The sound of clinking cups and soft chatter around them seemed far away, as if they were in their own world. Finally, Emma spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. Why me? Liam smiled, a hint of sadness in his eyes. I think you have something special, something a lot of people don't see. You have a real passion for what you do, and that's something I respect. Emma bit her lip, unsure if she was ready to believe in something so big, so fast. She had spent her entire life being cautious, holding herself back from the kind of risks that could either make or break her dreams. But now, faced with an opportunity she never expected, she wasn't sure if she should take it or run away. I don't know, she murmured, shaking her head. It just feels like too much. I mean, I'm just a waitress. I don't have the resources, the network, the experience. But you have the heart, Liam interrupted gently. And sometimes, that's all it takes. He leaned forward slightly, his voice lowering with intensity. I didn't get where I am by playing it safe. And I think you're ready for more than you believe. I see the way you talk about your dreams, the way your eyes light up. That's what makes me want to help. Emma felt her chest tighten, the weight of his words pressing on her. And for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, there was something more for her beyond the life she had settled for. She had always been scared to reach for the stars, terrified of falling short. But what if this was her chance to finally break free from the life she'd known? I'm scared, she admitted, her voice cracking slightly. What if I fail? What if I put everything into this and it doesn't work out? Liam smiled reassuringly. Failure isn't the end, Emma. It's part of the journey. You won't know unless you try. And if you fall, you pick yourself up and try again. But you'll never know what you're capable of if you don't take that first step. Emma nodded slowly, her mind still spinning, but a part of her felt the pull of his words. She had spent so long dreaming, wishing for a way out of her struggle. That now, when the opportunity was right in front of her, it felt almost surreal. Could she really do this? Could she really change her life? She looked down at her hands, the ones that had served trays and cleaned tables for years, and for the first time, she saw them as capable of something more. "Okay," she said, her voice steadying with newfound determination. "Okay, I'll take the chance. But I need to think about it. Really plan it out." Liam's face lit up, a genuine smile spreading across his face. "Take all the time you need," he said. "I'm here when you're ready, and I'll help you every step of the way." They spent the rest of the afternoon talking, not just about business, but about life, about their hopes and fears. Emma was surprised to find herself opening up in ways she never had before. It wasn't just the opportunity that excited her. It was the connection she felt with Liam. He wasn't just a millionaire CEO, he was someone who saw her for who she truly was. Someone who believed in her even when she couldn't believe in herself. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow through the cafe windows, Emma stood up, feeling like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. She wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time, she felt like she had a chance. She had taken a leap of faith, and no matter where it led, she knew it would be the beginning of something new. Liam stood with her, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder. "Whatever happens, Emma, just remember, you're not alone in this." Emma gave him a small smile, her heart lighter than it had been in years. "Thank you," she said softly. "I'll make it happen. I have to." They walked out of the cafe together, a sense of possibility hanging in the air. As they stepped into the cool evening, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of her journey, a journey that would change everything, starting with the courage to believe in herself. 2 weeks had passed since Emma agreed to take the leap. Her days were a whirlwind of phone calls, meetings, and endless lists of things to do, but each step forward felt like a victory. She had finally started the process of planning her art studio, using the connections Liam had provided, and she could feel the weight of her dreams becoming more real with every passing day. Yet, despite the progress, the self-doubt she had carried with her for so long still lingered in the back of her mind. One afternoon, after another long day of running around town meeting potential investors and partners, Emma sat alone in a small, quiet cafe. She looked over her notes, scribbling down a few more ideas, but her mind kept drifting back to Liam. He had been a constant source of support since their first meeting, offering advice and introductions to people who could help. He had even helped secure a small grant to get her studio off the ground. But it wasn't just the business side of things that kept her thinking about him, it was the way he made her feel. The way he believed in her when she didn't believe in herself. He had shown her kindness in ways she never expected, and it had begun to affect her more deeply than she realized. Emma sighed, rubbing her eyes as she stared at the paper in front of her. She couldn't help but wonder what it would be like to just let herself feel something for Liam. She hadn't been ready for a relationship, especially after everything she'd been through, but she couldn't deny the connection between them. Every conversation, every moment they spent together, it felt easy, natural, like they'd known each other for years. But she wasn't sure if it was just the excitement of her new venture, or if it was something more. Her phone buzzed, breaking her out of her thoughts. She picked it up and saw a message from Liam. "How's the planning going? Would love to catch up soon." She smiled to herself, her heart skipping a beat. She hadn't seen him in a few days, not since their last meeting at the gallery. That day had been a turning point for her. She had stood in front of the crowd, showcasing her art, and for the first time in her life, she felt proud. But it was also the moment she realized how much Liam had changed her life. He wasn't just a business partner. He was someone who had shown her the kind of support she'd never had before. "It's going well," she typed back. "I'm just feeling a bit overwhelmed. It's a lot to take in all at once." Liam's response came quickly. "I understand. But remember, you're not doing this alone. I'm here, whenever you need me. Let's meet tomorrow. We can talk about it all." Emma hesitated for a moment, then smiled as she typed. "Thanks, Liam. I'd like that." The next day, They met at the same cafe where they'd had their first real conversation. This time, Emma felt a little less nervous, a little more confident in herself. She was starting to realize that this journey wasn't just about building her dream, it was also about embracing the support around her, especially from Liam. When he arrived, he gave her a warm smile, his presence calming her immediately. He sat down across from her, and they started talking, just like they always did. The conversation flowed easily at first, discussing the logistics of the studio and the latest updates on the grant. But as the minutes passed, Emma felt herself opening up more, sharing the doubts that had been weighing on her heart. "I'm scared," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I keep thinking that maybe this isn't real. Maybe I'm just going to fail, and I'll end up right back where I started." Liam's expression softened, and he reached across the table, gently taking her hand in his. "You're not going to fail," he said firmly. "I believe in you, Emma. And I'm not just saying that because I think you have potential. I believe in you because I see the heart you put into everything you do. That's what makes you different. That's what's going to make this work." Emma felt a lump form in her throat, and for a moment, she didn't know what to say. She had heard words like this before, but they had always felt empty, meaningless. But with Liam, they felt real. He wasn't just offering empty promises. He was offering a chance, a belief that she had something worth fighting for. And for the first time, Emma let herself believe it. "Thank you," she said softly, squeezing his hand. "I don't think I can do this without you." Liam smiled, a look of genuine warmth in his eyes. "You can, and you will. I'm here, every step of the way." Emma nodded, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. She wasn't alone in this. And maybe, just maybe, she could learn to believe in herself again. As they parted ways that afternoon, Emma couldn't help but feel a surge of hope in her chest. The road ahead was still uncertain, but she knew she was stronger than she had been before. She had a vision, a goal, and a support system she never thought she would have. And no matter where it took her, she was ready to embrace it. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she was on the right path, and she was no longer afraid to take that next step. Whether it was the studio, her dreams, or even Liam, she was finally ready to make it all happen. It had been a month since Emma made the decision to take a leap of faith. Her art studio was starting to take shape. She had found a small, open space in the heart of the city, and with Liam's help, she had secured a few investors who believed in her vision. The overwhelming fear that had gripped her at the beginning slowly started to fade, replaced by a sense of purpose. But despite the progress, there was still a gnawing feeling in her chest, the same self-doubt that had always haunted her. She had made it this far, but what if she wasn't really cut out for this? The day was chilly as she walked through the streets of the city, the crisp autumn air brushing against her skin. She had spent most of the morning meeting with contractors and suppliers, finalizing plans for the studio. There was so much to do, so many decisions to make. She had barely had a moment to herself. But now that she had a few hours free, she decided to stop by the park, her favorite spot for quiet moments of reflection. She found a bench beneath a large oak tree, the leaves scattered across the ground in shades of gold and red, and sat down, letting out a long breath. For a moment, she let herself be still, her thoughts racing, but her body relaxing. The park was peaceful, a world away from the busy streets of the city. She pulled out her phone and checked her messages, a small smile forming as she saw a text from Liam. "How's the studio coming along? Need anything today?" She quickly typed back, "It's coming along, just a bit overwhelmed, as usual, but I think it'll be great." Liam's response came almost immediately. "I know you've got this, Emma, but if you need a hand with anything, just say the word. I'm proud of what you're doing." Her heart warmed at his words. He had been there every step of the way, not just as a business partner, but as someone who genuinely believed in her. His encouragement had made all the difference, but there was still a part of her that was afraid of leaning too much on him, of relying on his success to push her forward. She wanted to prove that she could do it on her own, that she was capable of more than just being a sidekick in her own life. But as she sat there, the cool breeze rustling the leaves above her. She realized that maybe asking for help wasn't a weakness. Maybe it was okay to lean on the people who believed in her, to trust that she wasn't alone in this journey. She wasn't just building a studio, she was building a future, one that wasn't defined by fear but by the support of the people who cared about her. The sound of footsteps broke her thoughts, and she looked up to see Liam approaching. He wore a warm jacket, his hands in his pockets as he smiled at her. "You look like you're deep in thought," he said, sitting down next to her without hesitation. Emma smiled, feeling a rush of gratitude. "I was just thinking about how much has changed in the past few weeks. I'm scared, but I think I'm ready." Liam glanced at her, his expression softening. "You've been ready for this, Emma. You just had to see it for yourself. I'm glad you're starting to believe that." They sat together in silence for a while, the weight of his words settling in. Emma wasn't sure if she was truly ready for everything that was coming her way, but as she sat next to Liam, she realized that the fear was starting to feel a little less heavy. Maybe she didn't have to carry it all on her own. Maybe, just maybe, she could allow herself to believe that she was worthy of this success. A few minutes passed before Emma spoke again. "I think I need to take the next step. I've been holding back, afraid of what might happen if I push too hard. But I can't keep waiting for the right moment. I have to make my own moment." Liam looked at her, his smile gentle. "That's exactly what I wanted to hear. You're stronger than you think, Emma. You've already come so far. Don't stop now." Liam, her heart swelled with emotion, a mix of fear and excitement. She had come so far, and with Liam's support, she had taken a chance on herself. But now, it was time to fully commit, to push beyond the fear and uncertainty that had held her back for so long. "I'm going to do it," she said, more to herself than to Liam. "I'm going to make it happen." Liam nodded, his eyes filled with pride. "I know you will." They both stood up, the park around them quiet, except for the sound of leaves crunching beneath their feet. As they walked toward the street, Emma couldn't help but feel like something inside her had shifted. The journey was far from over, but she was no longer afraid of what lay ahead. With Liam by her side, and her own belief in herself growing stronger, she knew that the path forward was hers to create. And for the first time in a long time, she felt ready for whatever came next. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of activity, and Emma found herself completely immersed in the process of launching her art studio. She had found the perfect space in the city, an open, airy loft with large windows that let in natural light. It wasn't much yet, but it had potential. The walls were still bare, the floors still unfinished, but Emma could already see the vibrant energy of the artists she hoped to welcome there. With Liam's help, she had managed to gather enough funds to get started. And now, every decision from the layout to the color scheme felt like a step toward realizing the dream she had held onto for so long. But even with all the excitement, there was still a part of her that couldn't shake the doubts. What if it didn't work out? What if she had put everything into this, only to end up with nothing? The fear, though quieter now, still lingered in the background, threatening to overshadow her progress. She had spent so many years surviving, trying to get by, that she wasn't used to the idea of actually thriving, of creating something that could change her life. One afternoon, as she sat in the empty studio, a cup of coffee in hand, Liam stopped by to check on the progress. He had been her constant support, offering advice, encouragement, and connections. She didn't know what she would have done without him. She looked up as he entered, his usual confident stride, now softened by a genuine smile. "How's it going?" Liam asked, looking around the studio with a nod of approval. "It's coming together," Emma replied, her voice filled with a mix of excitement and exhaustion. "But it feels like there's still so much to do. I'm just not sure if it's enough yet." Liam walked over to where she was sitting and leaned against the desk, studying her face. "What do you mean? It looks amazing. You've already done more than most people ever will." Emma sighed, running a hand through her hair. "I know, I've come a long way. But I'm still scared. I keep thinking that maybe this is all a mistake. What if it's too late? What if people don't come? What if I fail? Liam's expression softened, and he reached out, placing a hand gently on hers. You're not going to fail, Emma. You've already put everything you have into this, and that's something most people would never do. You're building something that's going to matter, not just for you, but for the people you'll inspire. Don't let fear stop you from seeing it through. Emma looked down at their hands, his words sinking in. It was hard to let go of the fear that had been with her for so long, but she realized that if she didn't face it, she would never move forward. She had to trust in the work she had done, in the people who believed in her, and in herself. It wasn't just about building a studio anymore. It was about proving to herself that she was capable of so much more than she had ever allowed herself to believe. I'm ready, she said, lifting her gaze to meet Liam's. I'm ready to do this. I don't want to keep holding myself back. Liam smiled, his eyes filled with pride. That's what I like to hear. You've got this, Emma. For the first time in a long time, Emma felt a weight lift off her shoulders. It wasn't that all her fears had disappeared, but for the first time, she felt like she could push past them. She wasn't going to let them control her anymore. She was going to take the risk, even if it scared her, because she knew now that the only way to fail was to never try, at all. Over the next few days, Emma threw herself into her work with renewed energy. She spent hours at the studio, choosing colors, arranging furniture, and finally, hanging the first few pieces of art on the walls. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, and it was hers. The day finally came for the studio's grand opening, and as Emma stood in front of the doors, her heart raced with excitement and fear. This was the moment she had been waiting for, the moment she could finally open her doors to the world and share her dream with others. She took a deep breath, smoothing down her dress, and pushed the doors open, stepping into the space that had once been just a dream. The room was full of people, many of whom she didn't know, but who had come to support her nonetheless. They wandered around, admiring the artwork, chatting with the artists she had invited, and celebrating the beginning of something new. As Emma looked around, she realized that the fear, the doubt, the worry, they didn't matter anymore. She had done it. She had created something real, and it was just the beginning. Liam appeared at her side, his presence grounding her. You did it, he said, his voice full of admiration. Emma smiled, her heart full. I couldn't have done it without you. Liam shook his head, a modest smile on his lips. You did this, Emma. You took the leap. I just helped you see it was possible. She looked around the studio, the walls filled with color and life, and for the first time, she realized how far she had come. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was living. She was thriving. And it felt better than she had ever imagined. As the night went on, Emma made her way through the crowd, talking to old friends and new supporters. She felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. The road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time, she felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. The months that followed the grand opening flew by, and Emma's art studio became a vibrant hub for local artists and aspiring creators. She was no longer just a waitress trying to make ends meet. She had transformed her life into something she had always dreamed of. Every day brought new challenges, but also new opportunities. She had created a space where people could find their voice, just as she had done for herself. The studio was thriving, but there was still a part of Emma that couldn't shake the feeling of insecurity. She had put so much of herself into this dream, and sometimes the weight of it all felt heavy. One evening, after a busy day of organizing an art exhibition for new artists, Emma found herself sitting in the studio, alone for the first time in weeks. The lights were dim, the walls adorned with vibrant pieces of art, and the soft hum of the city outside created a sense of calm. She leaned back in her chair, staring at the walls and letting the exhaustion wash over her. She had done it. She had built something real. But the question still lingered in her mind. Was she truly capable of handling all of this on her own? Her phone buzzed, interrupting her thoughts. It was a message from Liam. How's everything going? You seem quiet today. Emma smiled softly, grateful for his constant presence in her life. He had been there every step of the way, offering advice, guidance, and support. She typed back, "It's going well, just a bit tired. I'm still trying to get used to the pressure of it all." Liam's response came quickly. "I understand. You're doing amazing. Just don't forget to take care of yourself too. Remember, you don't have to do this alone." Emma paused, reading the message over and over. She had heard those words from him before, but today, they felt different. The truth was, she had been holding back. She had built the studio on her own terms, but in doing so, she had pushed away the people who cared about her. She had been so focused on proving to herself that she could succeed, that she had forgotten to lean on the people who believed in her. She stood up from the chair, walking toward the large windows that overlooked the city streets. The lights below twinkled like stars, and for the first time in a long while, Emma let herself truly reflect on how far she had come. She had taken the risk, stepped out of her comfort zone, and built something that had a purpose. But now, the next challenge wasn't about the studio. It was about opening up to the possibility of truly connecting with others, trusting them, just as they had trusted her. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a call from Liam. Without hesitation, she answered. "Hey," she said, her voice soft. "What's up?" "I was thinking," Liam said, his voice warm. "We've both been so focused on the studio and everything else. Maybe it's time we talked about something else for once. You know, just us." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She had always been afraid of getting too close to Liam, afraid of letting herself fall for him in a way that might complicate everything. But as she stood there, looking out at the city she had worked so hard to make her own, she realized that maybe it was time to stop holding back. "I'd like that," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "I think we both deserve a moment to just be." "Good," Liam replied. "How about dinner tomorrow? No work talk, just us. I'll make reservations." Emma smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "I'd love that." The next evening, they met at a quiet restaurant in the city. It was the first time in weeks that Emma had felt like she wasn't carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. They sat across from each other, and for the first time, the conversation wasn't about business, deadlines, or the studio. It was about their lives, their hopes, and their fears. They talked about everything and nothing, and Emma found herself laughing more than she had in a long time. For the first time, she felt completely present, not just in the moment, but in her own life. As they finished their meal, Liam reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "I'm proud of you, Emma," he said quietly. "Not just for what you've built, but for who you've become. You're stronger than you know." Ivory. Tears welled up in Emma's eyes as she looked at him. "I couldn't have done it without you, Liam. You've always believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself." Liam smiled softly, squeezing her hand. "I didn't just believe in you, Emma. I see you. And that's something a lot of people never truly experience." In that moment, Emma realized something she hadn't fully understood before. It wasn't just about building a studio or achieving success. It was about being seen for who she truly was, not just by Liam, but by herself. She had spent so much of her life hiding behind fear and doubt, but now, with Liam by her side, she felt ready to face whatever came next. She wasn't alone anymore, and that made all the difference. As they left the restaurant, Emma felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. She had built something real, something meaningful. But now, she understood that the true reward wasn't the success or the studio. It was the connection she had with the people around her. And for the first time, Emma felt like she had everything she needed to truly thrive. She had taken the leap, and she was ready to see where it would take her. The future was hers, and she was no longer afraid to embrace it. The following weeks were filled with even more growth for Emma. Her art studio continued to thrive, with new artists joining, and the workshops she held were getting more attention than she had ever expected. What started as a dream, a hope to create something meaningful, was now a reality. A community was forming around her. People from all walks of life were coming in, sharing their stories and their work, and Emma could see the impact she was having on others. It was everything she had hoped for, and more. But even with all the success, Emma couldn't ignore the growing feeling in her chest. The doubts still crept in, especially when she was alone with her thoughts. She wondered if she was truly deserving of all of this. Was she just lucky? Was this success just a fleeting moment? Something she would lose if she wasn't careful? The constant pressure to succeed, to maintain this new life she had built, was beginning to weigh on her. And at times, she felt like she was walking a tightrope. One afternoon, after a particularly exhausting day, Emma found herself sitting in the corner of the studio, watching the sunlight slowly fade as the artists packed up and left. The place was quiet now, the bustling energy replaced by stillness. It was moments like these that she allowed herself to pause, to reflect on everything she had accomplished. She thought about the person she had been just a few months ago, a woman unsure of her place in the world, afraid to chase her dreams. And then she thought about Liam. He had been her constant, the one person who had always believed in her, even when she couldn't believe in herself. He had been there every step of the way, offering guidance, support, and friendship. And yet, there was a part of her that still wasn't sure what to make of their connection. They had grown close, too close, but Emma had always kept a wall up, a fear of opening herself completely to someone else. She was scared of what it might mean, scared of where it might lead. As if on cue, her phone buzzed, pulling her out of her thoughts. It was a message from Liam. "I'm thinking of stopping by the studio tomorrow. We could grab dinner after if you're free." Emma stared at the message for a moment, her heart skipping a beat. She smiled to herself before quickly typing back, "I'd like that. See you tomorrow." The next day, Liam arrived at the studio, his usual easygoing smile greeting her as he walked in. He looked around, nodding approvingly at the changes since his last visit. "It's looking great in here," he said, his voice full of pride. "You've really turned this place into something special." Emma smiled, a sense of warmth flooding through her at his words. "It feels like it's finally coming together," she said, standing beside him as they both surveyed the space. "I never imagined it would happen this quickly, but it's real now." Liam nodded, his gaze soft. "I told you it would. You just had to believe in yourself." They stood there for a moment, and Emma could feel the weight of his words. He had always seen something in her, something she couldn't see in herself. She didn't know if she would have gotten this far without him, without his unwavering belief in her. But now, as they stood side by side, she felt something more than gratitude. She felt a connection, something deeper than just friendship, something she had been trying to ignore for far too long. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said," Emma began, breaking the silence, "about not doing this alone. And I think I finally get it. I've spent so much time trying to prove that I can do everything on my own, but I'm starting to realize that maybe that's not what matters. What matters is who you have by your side while you do it." Liam turned to her, his expression unreadable for a moment. Then, his gaze softened, and he took a step closer. "Emma, you've never been alone in this. I've been right here, every step of the way. I've always been here for you." The air between them felt different now, charged with something unsaid. Emma felt her breath catch in her throat. She had known that Liam cared for her, but hearing him say those words, it felt like a realization. She had been afraid of opening up, afraid of what it might mean to allow someone in. But in that moment, standing there with him, she felt ready to face whatever came next. "I'm glad you've been here," Emma said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I think I've been afraid of needing someone, but I realize now that I don't have to be afraid of that." Liam smiled, taking a gentle step forward, his hand reaching out to rest on hers. "You don't have to be afraid of needing anyone, Emma. We all need someone. And you've got me, for whatever you need." For the first time, Emma didn't feel the weight of her past, the fear of what might happen next. She didn't feel the need to hide or to hold herself back. For the first time, She allowed herself to believe in the possibility of something more, not just with the studio, but with Liam. "I think I'm ready for whatever comes next," Emma said, looking up at him with a sense of calm determination. "And I think I'm ready to stop being afraid of what might happen if I let myself feel something real." Liam's expression softened, and he nodded, his voice filled with tenderness. "Good, because I'm here, Emma, and whatever happens next, we'll face it together." As they stood there, hand in hand, Emma realized that the journey she had started was only just beginning. There was still so much ahead, but for the first time, she wasn't afraid of it. She had everything she needed to move forward: belief in herself, support from those who cared about her, and the courage to face whatever the future held. And with Liam by her side, she knew that anything was possible. Months passed, and Emma's art studio continued to grow in ways she never imagined possible. The initial fears and doubts she once carried seemed like distant memories now, replaced by a steady stream of successes, challenges, and triumphs. The space that had once been just an empty loft had transformed into a vibrant community of artists, all working together to create something meaningful. The workshops were full, and the gallery events drew crowds, many of whom came to admire the talent of the artists Emma had brought together. The studio had become more than just a business. It was a home for creativity, a place where people found not only artistic expression, but also support and inspiration. Through it all, Emma had changed too. She had grown into the person she had always hoped to become: confident, driven, and unafraid to embrace the challenges that came with her dreams. She had learned to rely on those around her, especially Liam, who had been by her side through every high and low. Their connection had deepened in ways neither of them had expected. What had started as a simple business relationship had blossomed into something more, a bond that neither of them could ignore. One evening, as the sun set and the studio emptied out for the night, Emma stood in the middle of the room, looking around at the walls that now bore the marks of countless artists, their paintings, their sketches, their stories. She had created this space, but it was more than just a place to work. It was a reflection of everything she had fought for, everything she had overcome, and she realized in that quiet moment that she had done it. She had built something real, something that mattered, not just to her, but to so many others. Her phone buzzed, interrupting her thoughts. She glanced at the screen to see a message from Liam. "Dinner tonight? I have something important to talk to you about." Emma felt a flutter in her chest. It wasn't unusual for them to grab dinner, but the tone of his message made her wonder. She quickly replied, "Of course. I'll meet you in an hour." Vor. When Emma arrived at the restaurant, she found Liam already seated at a quiet corner table, his usual calm demeanor replaced with a hint of something deeper, something Emma couldn't quite place. She sat down across from him, her curiosity piqued. "Everything okay?" she asked, her voice soft but filled with concern. Liam smiled, but it wasn't his usual easy smile. There was something different about him tonight, something serious. "I'm doing well," he said, "but there's something I've been meaning to tell you for a while now." Emma waited, her heart beginning to race. Was something wrong? Had she done something to upset him? Liam took a deep breath before continuing, his gaze meeting hers with an intensity that took her by surprise. "I've been thinking a lot about us, about everything we've built together. And I realized, I don't want to just be here for your success. I want to be here for you. All of you. Not just the business. Not just the art. I want to be a part of your life, Emma." Emma's heart skipped a beat, and for a moment she couldn't find the words. She had known that their bond had grown stronger over time, but hearing him say it out loud, with such sincerity, made something stir deep inside her. I don't know what to say," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. Liam reached across the table, taking her hand gently in his. "You don't have to say anything right now. I just want you to know that I'm here, not just as your business partner or your friend, but as someone who wants to build something real with you, together." Emma felt a rush of emotion. her chest tightening with a mix of fear and hope. She had spent so much of her life guarding her heart, afraid of being hurt, afraid of depending on someone else. But as she looked into Liam's eyes, she realized that maybe it was time to let go of that fear. Maybe it was time to trust that she could have both her dreams and the person she wanted to share them with. "I've been afraid," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Afraid of letting someone in. Afraid of what it might mean for everything I've built. But you've been there for me, Liam, every step of the way. I trust you more than anyone. And I think I'm ready to see where this can go. Whatever it is." Liam smiled, his eyes soft with affection. "You don't have to rush anything, Emma. We'll go at your pace. I'm just glad you're open to it." In that moment, something shifted within Emma. The walls she had built around her heart, the walls that had kept her safe, but also kept her isolated, began to crumble. She had spent so much time worrying about the future, about failure, about doing it all on her own. But now, with Liam's hand in hers, she realized that she didn't have to do it alone. She had built something incredible with her own hands. But it was the people she surrounded herself with that made it truly special. As they sat together, talking about their future, Emma felt an overwhelming sense of peace. She had come a long way from the woman who once felt lost and unsure of herself. She had built a studio, a community, and a life that was hers to shape. And now, she was ready to share it with someone who truly understood her, who believed in her, and who wanted to build something together. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, Emma didn't feel afraid of what lay ahead. With Liam by her side, she knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. And for the first time, Emma felt like she had truly found her place in the world. In this heartfelt and inspiring journey, Emma transforms from a struggling waitress to a successful art studio owner, proving that dreams can come true with determination and the right support. As she faces her fears, builds her business, and opens her heart to new possibilities, she learns to trust not only herself, but also the people around her, especially Liam, who has always been there, offering both business advice and emotional support. This story is one of the many millionaire stories where an ordinary person finds their way to success, not just through hard work, but also through meaningful relationships that help them unlock their full potential. Throughout this millionaire story, Emma's path is full of obstacles and doubts, but with the encouragement of those who believe in her, she begins to see that success is not just about financial gain, but also about growth, connection, and the courage to embrace new challenges. Like many millionaire stories, the journey isn't always smooth, but it's these challenges that make the victory even sweeter. As Emma builds her art studio and takes the leap of faith to build something real, she realizes that sometimes the greatest riches come from the relationships we nurture and the trust we put in ourselves and others. These millionaire stories show us that with the right mindset and support, even the most unlikely individuals can rise to success. And for Emma, this is just the beginning of an exciting new chapter. Discover how one woman's determination and the love of those who believed in her made her dreams a reality, proving that anything is possible, just like the stories of millionaires who once started with nothing and built something extraordinary.